Hello, 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 hello. For those of you who don't know who I am Demetrius Taylor, and for the purposes of this video, um, I am your candidate for mayor of the city of College Park. Okay, um, I'm coming to you live right now because there has been a situation that has been made public or has been brought to our attention. And this situation requires an explanation. Now, before we get started, and before, as I was saying before, there's been some information that has been made public or has been brought to my attention and a few people across the city. And this information is rather damaging and it may seem salacious. It may seem as if it's a character assassination. It may seem as if, this is one of these political tactics or whatever the case may be. In any event, even though all those things could be true in this particular video, it's not true. At least it's not my intention for this to be true. My intention for this video is to see if we can get an explanation from the powers that be. Okay. Again, warning, what I'm about to share with you is going to strike and evoke some kind of feeling. And I'm hoping that we're able to move beyond this and get to a place where we can get explanation as opposed to just living in a situation where this fodder is not explained. Okay. It's no secret that at our last city council meeting, there was a debacle. Okay. It's no secret that I've gone public about my feelings on that. I know that I co-host on Wednesdays with DC and on mix106radio.com. Yeah, I know I'm his co-host on Wednesdays, and I made no secret as to what my feelings were about that debacle. Yeah, we went in fun and was joshing a little bit because of the mayor's stance and how she presented it. We made fun, we teased a little bit, but the bulk of her uh, her points that she was making was that she is a woman who is of integrity. She is a woman who is proud of her heritage as an African American woman. She was letting us know that um, she's been criticized and she's been uh, well, not necessarily revered, but she's been uh, had heavy critiques concerning her uh, involvement with black men. Okay. And, let her say it. She said she's been told that she hates black men and that she's always been against black men. And because of who she loves and who she wants to spend the rest of her life with, that's been an issue for her to talk to the people. And she went on and got to talking about the proud heritage. Her father's black, her grandfather is black, and her grandfather helped integrate, was one of the first to integrate American football and all of that. So I don't believe in coincidences, but this is too coincidental to be a coincidence that this particular information has been brought about and we are in this particular time now. Okay. Uh, we know this is an election year. She's up for reelection. I'm running against her. We all qualify in August. August 21st through the 25th is the qualifying times. Okay. And that's when we go in, we pay our fees or whatever that's required to be put on the ballot, and then we can officially start campaigning at that time. It's no coincidence that this information has been brought forth. We've all been questioning, as you see, I have my shirt on 6 West College Park. We've all been questioning this development, right? And we've all have been, um, wondering what's coming of it. We have some great potential that is coming forward. Great potential in the look of what we want College Park to be. Okay. However, for those of you who don't know that, I served on the Business and Industrial Development Authority Board, also known as BIDA. I served on that board for 4 years. And right at the beginning of the mayor's tenure, there were some things that became in question because there was some property that was sold, or at least it come up, but I'm finding out that it was sold. I don't remember the vote. This is my interpretation with it. I don't remember us voting on this property to say, yay, it could be sold. I just remember that this name had come up, and the name was Thomas J. Hill. This name had come up, and we all have been wondering what that was. And in trying to do some investigation of who he is, we found out that Mr. Thomas J. Hill happens to be the brother-in-law of Mayor Bianca Motley Broom. Now, is that a crime? No. But what has brought about speculation and pause is that this particular piece of information that was sent to us, okay, says that there were several pieces of land that was bought by Mr. Hill and his business partner, Mr. Sam Dixon. And it's in question because, number one, we're looking to see. I don't remember anything coming across us during my tenure on VITA where it was revealed that by the mayor that Mr. Hills, with an S, Hills, was her brother-in-law, nor was any of that disclosed to say that he went through the proper channels to be vetted to see, for bidding on the property and carrying on. We don't remember, at least I don't remember any of those things. And so we have to go look at the minutes and we have to go back to make sure that what I'm about to say and share with you is is legitimate. That's why I'm saying there's a situation that requires an explanation. Okay. Now what I'm going to share also is that Mr. Hill's business partner, Mr. Sam Dixon, this particular piece of information here, and this is coming from the Southern Poverty Law Center. Y'all see that? Southern Poverty Law Center. Okay? And let me give you a little bit of history of who they are. Okay? And I'm reading this from Wikipedia. All right? It says the Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC, is an American 501c3 nonprofit legal advocacy organization specializing in civil rights and public interest litigation. Based in Montgomery, Alabama, it is known for its legal cases against white supremacist groups, for its classification of hate groups and other extremist organizations, and for promoting tolerance educational programming. The SPLC was founded by Morris Dees, Joseph L. Levin Jr., and Julian Bond in 1971 as a civil rights law firm in Montgomery, Georgia. In Montgomery, Alabama. In 1980, the SPLC began its litigation strategies for filing civil suits for monetary damages on behalf of the victims of violence from the Ku Klux Klan. The SPLC also became involved in other civil rights causes, including cases to challenge what it sees as institutional racial segregation and discrimination, inhumane and unconstitutional conditions in prisons and detention centers, discrimination based on sexual orientation, mistreatment of illegal immigrants, and the other unconstitutional mix of church and state. The SPLC has provided information about hate groups to the Federal Bureau of Investigation and other enforcement agencies. And I'm going to stop there. Okay. Now, uh, because we have that, this particular information that they sent to us reads very heavily. And again, it's too coincidental to be a coincidence. But this starts off by saying Sam Dixon and the Broom family KKK connection. Okay. Sam Dixon is a prominent white nationalist who has represented the Ku Klux Klan on several occasions. He often speaks and writes on white nationalist topics and has been criticized by such groups as the Southern Poverty Law Center. This long-standing racist leader is also an Atlanta attorney and real estate investor. His company is registered with the state of Georgia as Community Renewal and Redemption LLC. Sam is a business partner and attorney for Thomas J. Hills and Susan Broom Hills. Susan's maiden name is Susan Broom. She was also previously married as Susan Broom Paris. Okay? Now that's what the article says. Then we have their personal information on stuff. We are like I have a bad connection. I apologize, but we also have personal information on well with background checks and carrying on. We have information on lots and things that they have acquired under the name. Things that were filed in Fulton County, their business licenses on how they were filed. We have here also from the Secretary of State that the business name, the Community Renewal Redemption LLC. Um, hmm, now this is interesting. It says electronically filed by the Secretary of State, filing date 3/8/2023 at 17:54:16. So that's 5:54 p.m. Okay, so they filed this just a couple of months ago. Oh, no, that's interesting. Okay. It says here Thomas J. Hill, Susan Broom Hills, John Broom, and Broom, and their family have several companies registered with the state of Georgia. They are TAFTA Incorporated, Balestra LLC, College Park Lots LLC, Two Seam Holdings LLC, Tri Cities Properties Incorporated, Peachtree Funding Incorporated, Saraboo Incorporated. Right now, Thomas J. Hills and Susan Broom Hills are buying up properties from unsuspecting Black property owners in the soon to be $1 billion 6 West development area in College Park, where their sister in law, Bianca Broom, is mayor. These properties are being purchased by the Broom family because they know that College Park must eventually buy those individual properties in order to sell the entire 6 West property site to a developer. In other words, the Broom family is undermining the city's efforts by buying the property first and then selling them back to the city of College Park for a substantial profit. Okay, now this is what they're saying. And then they have here, um, this is the 2007 corporation annual registration. That's for TAFTA. Um, this is Balestra. So again, we have a number of things here that they have. Electronically filed state of Secretary of State rather filed on 3/2/2023, College Park Lots, LLC. So this was just recently filed, and that's up under Thomas Hills as the organizer. Okay. This is from the Secretary of State Corporations Division. Um, the College Park Lots was filed, filed December 13th, 2010 to Thomas J. Hills, living on, and they have his address here and phone number and other personal information. I'm going to divulge that right here. Um, Articles of organization and several things that are legal to say that they have legally gone through and established companies and things of that nature. The problem that we're having of why this is problematic is because, again, it's no coincidence. It's too coincidental, rather, to be a coincidence that we up on our mayor is up under scrutiny. Our mayor has um, an ethics complaint filed against her against Councilman Joe Karn of Ward Two, and the nature of the cause is it's a point of order. It is a complaint to say that our mayor has been mistreating or treating our African American council people differently from our Caucasian council people. And this here is what the debacle is, okay? It's been no secret that there has been some personal mismanagement on the council between council and mayor. It has never been a secret, but this is the first time that we have gone public. This is the first time that we have not had a quorum to continue on with the business of the of College Park businesses and carrying on. We had that meeting had to be uh, it ended abruptly because when our two councilmen, Councilman Carn and Councilman Gay, had walked out of the meeting and did not come back to hold quorum, they could no longer vote, and the meeting was then over. Why am I bringing all of this up, or why am I talking about this in this particular style and platform? Because it's no coincidence that the people who got this here was to make sure that somebody said something, number one. But most importantly, um, we need an explanation for all of this. Okay. For us to have the very first African American mayor here in College Park, the very first female, who happens to be, did she fit the African American box and the female box? She's in that intersection. This has already been historic to begin with. But now to have these kind of charges or this kind of complaints and these kind of unscrupulous thoughts that come forth, we now, what is it that you can give us that is going to make this go away or that's going to make it feel better or whatever the case may be? This is claiming that because of the business partnership with her brother-in-law. Now, mind you, as you hear, he's a brother-in-law because, of course, the marriage. Now, this apparently, this is going to be her husband's sister's husband, okay, that we have here. But this is saying, and I'm tending to believe it because they they've gone on to publish this. This will here, this article that they sent us, okay, is here. This was first published in the Intelligence Report, 2006 fall edition. Okay, this here is by Alexander Zatchik. I'm not. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, this is what we have here. Okay, this is what we have here, and it goes on and this here goes into explanation of how someone who's been representing the Ku Klux Klan, who apparently is a white nationalist. Now, I have to look that up myself. I'm going based on what they're saying here, that he's a white nationalist. Okay. If this is at all true, and they got documentation that he's in partnership with Mr. Hills and subsequently the Brooms family, then we have a conflict of interest here. We have a conflict of interest, and the people of College Park deserves an explanation of some sort. Now, this is not to say that redemption can't happen. We don't know. Again, this is going to seem as though this is some kind of conjecture. This is going to seem as though this is a character assassination of some sort. However, the paperwork here says that they are partners. They're signed together on and have bought properties and carrying on. They have bought. Wait a minute. This is saying. Hold on. Um, Lots 18 and 19 of what? I had to go through this because and get all of the parcels that were um, that they say that they have acquired. Okay, but nonetheless, this requires some kind of scrutiny on somebody of some sort, and because of that, the citizens are once this becomes completely public, and I know that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this here. We want to know exactly what this is. Now, this is not calling anybody else anything because this is saying that Mr. Dixon is the man, okay, who was the so-called what is this? Is a prominent, excuse me, no, not a so-called. It says he is a prominent white nationalist. Okay. So if the family is doing business with these people, and this is not to say that business transactions don't happen and we don't all have to agree with everybody's personal lives and this, that, and the other. But look at the irony that this is taken. We have an ethics complaint made from an African American male against the first African American female mayor that they're not treating the black men of the council properly. Okay. And then and then we have this to come out to say that your in-laws are in partnership with white nationalists, those who feel as though blacks are not supposed to advance and to achieve, those who feel that they can just come in and take over because and treat them and mistreat them because in this particular article there are several sites that shows how Mr. Dixon is accused of using bully tactics and scare tactics to get people out of their homes and things. In this particular document here is talking about how they are now looking at uh the other property. What is it, the bank here property that said? Wait a minute, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it. It says here, a decade ago, small overgrown plots in these Atlanta neighborhoods were ignored by real estate owners. Wait a minute, let me go back a little bit because I want to get what area they're talking about. Summer Hill, Pittsburgh, Grant Park, and The Bluff. That's what it is. A decade ago, small overgrown plots in these Atlanta neighborhoods were ignored by real estate developers. Today, Atlanta continues to sprawl in every direction, feeding off its reputation as a cosmopolitan hub of the New South and drawing thousands of young professionals back to the city. These once neglected neighborhoods are hotter than a firecracker, according to one local developer. As competition for tax delinquent properties in this environment as competition for delinquent properties in this environment increases, so does the presence of Sam Dixon and his protege, Joshua Buckley. While growing their business, say many of them, say many of their peers, they have changed the rules of the game. Once upon a time, prospectors respected each other's investment, but Sam Dixon was apparently the first to break this unwritten rule, and is notorious for aggressively feeding off the work and investments of others by finding a backdoor into fractured ownership situations. Sam Dixon is essentially the terrorist of the Atlanta real estate community, says Andy Desmond, Atlanta-based real estate genealogist. And we define terrorists as one who is determined to win at any cost, with little or no regard for fairness, disclosure, truth, and compromise. Those of us who work within established rules to resolve tax delinquencies and repair fractured real estate titles despise him, not just the heirs whom he strong arms, says Desmond. I'm surprised his non-disclosure, half-truth, and bullying tactics haven't led to censure or disbarment. But I have no doubt they'll eventually catch up with him, end quote. Now that's just part of this article. Okay. Again, this is coming from the Southern Poverty Law Center. So now, again, this begs to differ. I mean, this begs to bring about a point. Moving forward, how can we move College Park forward? Because for me, now I'm going to speak only for me, because I know this kind of stuff here puts into question some of the things that I question about. This is some of the reasons why I'm running. One of my platforms is that I want to see us have more black and brown contractors, given a fair shot at negotiations for development. But if we have someone who is a white nationalist buying up the property, what does that do for the negotiation processes? What does that do for trying to bring in developers? And I'm not completely no, I'm versed, but I'm as well versed as the economic development director, those who handle the contracts and deal with them one on one. I've been able to vet the contracts and say, when we don't like this, we want to make sure that, and this, that, and the other, working on VITA. But the relationships that are established, how do we get these folks to come to the table? We have what's his name? What's Herman's last name? He's the black developer. This is the guy who's responsible for building the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That was a black contractor that did that. So we know that's someone who's well equipped to handle something, if not all of the Six West development. You understand? There's another one that whose picture is all over the airport. I can't call his name right now. His picture is all over the airport as one of the major contractors who put Hartsfield Jackson together. The airport. Okay. So how come contractors like this are not being brought to the table, or at least given a chance to bid for some of the property? Those are some of the questions, and I'm sure that there are answers out there, but this is why stuff like this has to come into play. We have to bring these kind of questions to the forefront, because this situation requires an explanation. And if an explanation cannot be given, then the perception of nefarious behavior is going to always permeate the the outcome of what we think government is, or at least the outlook, or stain and imbrue, the fabric of our political system, or at least our local government affairs. Why we need answers. We need an explanation. We need something that is going to give us some sense of comfort to say, hey, even okay, yeah, this was in the past, but now things have changed or whatever. Again, dealing with business, I'm not saying that we all got to be friends when dealing with business, because most of us are not. They always say you don't handle business with friends and carrying on, because it becomes too emotional. Business is business. But yet at the same time, there's ethics. There are, rules of engagement, written and unwritten. You know what I'm saying? That brings about a fair shake, so that everybody could come out winning on this. There are no losers, at least it shouldn't be. But a lot of times, my personal belief is that a business is nothing but mergers and acquisitions. Either we're going to merge together and handle this as one big conglomerate, or I'm going to buy you out and just acquire you, and then your entity is going to be mine, and I'm going to be uh, the conglomerate. And then we end up monopolizing. Look at, we don't even have Ma Bell anymore, do we, y'all? Remember Ma Bell or Bell Communications? I know I'm from Detroit. It was Ma Bell. Okay. When we had house phones and things. And then slowly but surely, everything started coming into play. But Ma Bell, honey, was the only telephone company. Nobody else. So they could charge whatever they wanted to charge, right? They're the only ones. There was no fair competition. Okay. Imagine if Kentucky Fried Chicken didn't have Churches and Popeyes and Mrs. Winters and all the other chicken places. Imagine that. What if McDonald's didn't have Burger King and Wendy's and Hot and Now or Checkers and Rallies and all? What if the other burger places didn't exist? Crystals, okay, White Castles. If they didn't exist, what does that mean? Okay, then we have a monopoly. Okay, and then that's not fair. That doesn't become fair business. It becomes a monopoly on something, and then almost as if it's a dictatorship, kind of like how technology does us, right? Y'all see how technology, when none of us want to necessarily change over into the new medium, but slowly but surely they force us into it because the times have changed and this, that, and the other. This is the same kind of feel. And so at this particular point, with the allegations that are being served, and with this actual complaint that Councilman Karn has forged against Mayor Broom, and then to have this information come the way that it came, we need an explanation. We need to understand what this is, how is it, and to be quite fair, maybe the mayor doesn't know anything about all of this. Maybe this was done behind her back so that she wouldn't have to face this kind of scrutiny. You know how folks get, if they don't tell you nothing, then you're not responsible for anything, correct? But the implication is still there because this is directly related to your family. It's the same way how we do on the news. Okay. We make family members guilty of somebody else's crime. Somebody done did this, but somehow or another, when they go do the background, we want to blame other people of the family for this when the other family members knew nothing of this. So perhaps this could be the case. But at the same time, I'm going to ask Mayor Broom she's going to have to address this at one point and not make this part of a campaign thing. And and that may sound hypocritical for me because I am running against her. At the same time, this here is what is now being brought to the forefront. Okay, it's here, and I live by a quote that says, and this is from Reverend Alfreda Lenoir. She wrote a book called "Go to Hell," and in that book, she says, "Life shows up so that you show up." In this game of politics and carrying on, this can get real messy. And I'm not one who like to deal with a lot of messiness. Now we're gonna deal the truth. I don't want salaciousness. I don't like to deal with all this, that, and the other. But this here was dropped in my lap. This, okay, this. And I read parts of it. We got information, personal information, and the proof is there that Thomas J. Hills is the brother-in-law of Mayor Broom. And it is proof here that under these other companies that Sam Dixon and Thomas J. Hills are business partners. And this is someone who professes to be a white nationalist and who has been an attorney who represents or represented at one point the Ku Klux Klan. How do we do that? And I'm trying not to. I'm trying to keep it there, but then the race card comes into play. I remember Mrs. Dent said to me that when her husband was going and running for city council, okay, I think he was the our first. Was he the first black city councilman, or was that Michael Hightower? Whenever he was running for his tenure, he was running, and she said the Klan had come marching down the street in disagreement. I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "Yes." They had to endure that kind because they didn't want us or they didn't want black folks in office at that time. You know? And in this political climate where we're talking about CRT and education and everybody against the woke community or whatever this climate is so heavily fueled with the race war to where now we have a woman who just told us 2 weeks ago almost that she's proud of her heritage and that she's being criticized for who she loves. And now come to find out that your husband's people have ties to the Klan, and it's unfair. It's unfair because again, she may not know about all this. She may be in the dark. At the same time, as a lawyer, as a judge, she understands what all this looks like. And I go there because what I don't want to do, I'm playing both sides of the coin here because I want to give her the benefit of the doubt and say she doesn't know anything about any of this, and why would she? Because it wasn't her business deal. But she know who her family is, so I'm sure that she's seen the name. She know Thomas J. Hill when it came across the desk. When council had to sit down and vote on it after Biden did or whatever. But we got to go pull those minutes because I don't remember us selling that land to him. I don't remember us selling the land, but apparently he done bought land. And I don't remember her saying that this was her brother-in-law because I was one of the ones that said he's her brother-in-law. Isn't that a conflict of interest? And it wasn't disclosed. See, one of the things that I've learned about politics is nepotism is always there, but at the same time, when we're doing these kinds of things, we have to make sure that it is done with integrity. We can't hide the fact that, oh, this is my brother-in-law, or whatever, because see, now it seems as though, oh, I got the hookup, kind of thing. And it doesn't, that there leaves a sour taste in everybody's mouth when it's done improperly. There was a proper way that this could have been done. And this is why this is coming to the forefront. Um, so I'm gonna put this all in that particular court. What are we going to do about it, people? What are we going to do about it? Because no, this is wow. So what do we do? How do we move forward? And then especially with College Park being a town that is 90% people of color, 86% being people are African American, 86%, with 3% being Hispanic and 1% being Asian. 90% of the population of College Park is people of color. And here we have people who are associated with the Klan buying up the lots from unsuspecting folk as a means to make money and what? You know. And is it unfair? Because we don't know what they're going to do with the property. But it's unfair when we hear this, or if someone knew about this and it wasn't vetted properly. You understand? Because we could do business with anybody. Business is business, right? After what I said. But at the same time, with being business, we need to look at the type of business that it is. Is this going to progress us forward? Or are we trying to monopolize so that we can, is there a bigger plan at stake? That's not making sense. It does not make sense. It does not make sense. And so this is why an explanation is required. It came to me, y'all. This came to me. So what do we do with it? How do we move forward? How, when stuff like this keeps coming up, y'all don't like talking about race and carrying on, but stuff like this keep coming up. And then when it comes up, everybody want to sweep it up under the rug. What do we do? How do we move forward? And will the truth prevail? Will the truth prevail? Or are we just going to get a grand old, squeaky clean, syrupy story that's all politically correct and make everybody feel good and chummy? And then when everybody thinks that this is forgotten about, then it's going to be done another way. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But I will say this: everybody has a past, and politics. You say you want realness, you say you want people to be integral and carrying on. But when they show you that, those are the people who you don't vote for. Those are the people who you say, oh, they're uncouth. They're this, they're that, or they're not presidential. They're not part of this, they're not part of that. And you want perfection. You want perfection. And okay, I'm going to tell you like this: I'm perfectly human. I am perfectly human who's multifaceted. There's many different sides to me, as with everyone. And because of that, hey, I have my good days and I have my bad days, just like everybody else. All right. And I'm saying that for the current mayor as well. She has her good days, she has her bad days because she's human. And this situation here is not going to be swept up under the rug because we have to have an answer and an explanation. And yes, honey, it's uncomfortable, it's unfair. But again, when we're in a Christian nation, okay, although we say we celebrate everybody's religion, we are a Christian nation, okay? And one of the creeds that we live by is that what's done in the dark will come to the light. And now light is being brightly shown on this particular deal between Thomas J. Heels, Susan Broom Heels, and their partnership with Sam Dixon, who is a prominent white nationalist who has represented the Ku Klux Klan on several occasions, coming from the Southern Poverty Law Center. So if they put this out here, I'm sure that it's been vetted and all of that. I'm sure it's been vetted. The question becomes now, what do we do? How do we move forward? What is it that needs to be done? Huh? What needs to be done? The people. Okay, you're confused. I got you, because so am I. Okay, you don't know where to go from here. I got you, because I'm pulling straws too. Okay, you're mad and upset. I got you, because I'm pissed too. Trying to understand what does this mean. If you're upset because this is unfair to Mayor Broom, okay, I got you there too, because it is. I just said, honey, I don't believe in coincidences, because this is too coincidental to be a coincidence that this uh, the ethics complaint goes out and then this comes up. Okay, so those of you who are her supporters and say this is unfair, I'm there with you, because you're right, it is unfair. At the same time, those of us who are running for this office, this child, this here is this is part of the game. But I don't like the nastiness of it, and I'm trying to give this a whole roundabout because I don't like the nastiness. Okay, the nastiness doesn't is not necessary. Okay, and it doesn't have to get any nastier than this. All right, but what we do need is an explanation from our mayor, and this is probably going to embarrass her. And because now we know went into her family life and stuff that should have been personal, right? But it's here, and what do we do? Because for this, if this land is sold, and I keep looking at this, and I'm trying to go back in my memory banks because I don't remember us selling the land. Okay, but it could have happened after my tenure. Okay, whatever this is, honey, it requires an explanation. It requires an explanation so that the people, the neighbors, the stakeholders, those who are the residency and citizenry of College Park, can have an educated decision versus foolish choices moving forward. Because we can't make a decision if we don't have all the information. This here feels like a sucker punch. It feels like a sucker punch. It's a jab, but at the same time, this here it must be required. It has to be. So where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Election is November 7th this year. We qualify August 21st through the 25th. So those are going to put their hat in the running, honey. What are we going to do about this? How is that going to make, what are we going to do to make sure that the city come out from up under this particular kind of scrutiny? And how embarrassing is it that we have the first black mayor of the city, and yet we dealing with this kind of stuff? Within the last 30 days, the stuff that we're dealing with under this particular administration, it is an embarrassment to us as a people. I'm sure she feels, I can only imagine that she feels embarrassed, set up, whatever the case may be. Because let me do this. Let me come out of the political game and look at this human to human, okay? Having to deal with this after the lights go off, when the city council meeting is over, and you got to go home and debrief. Get with your circle of friends and carry on. What is that? What are the hurts? What are the pains that all of this comes through? Yeah, having a tough skin is one thing, but we're still human. Having a tough skin don't mean that the blow didn't hurt. It just means I can take it. Okay. So what is that? Hmm. What is it? And how we come about of this thing here is it's going to determine what happens with this election this year. How we come out of this right here. Because now your brother-in-law, his partner that has been buying property here in the city of College Park, is a known white nationalist and have been a representative of the Klan. And though we may not know what those cases are, the implication behind all of that. See, when I hear Klan, I hear lynching, I hear burning houses, I hear trying to run away black folks, I hear discrimination, I hear, the ancestry of what slavery has done to these people. And I know y'all get tired of us going there, but when I hear Klan, all of those things rile up. I'm part of that. I'm a same gender loving man, honey. I know what I hear when I hear Klan. Okay. So to hear that gives us and evokes all of these raw emotions. So I can only imagine what that is for you. And then for the mayor to be interracially married, what does that mean for her? Because this is why I'm saying she may not know what's going on and kept in the dark, perhaps on purpose. Okay, because as a black woman who was married to a Caucasian man, the Klan didn't like y'all neither. Okay, a traitor to the race, and you know what they say about us. Okay, so all of this becomes unfair. All of this becomes, ugh, it's sticky, and it becomes that way. But honey, just like we do when we have pancake syrup that done spilt on the floor and it's sticky and carrying on, you got to go get soap and water and come and clean it up. Otherwise, it stays sticky. You can't just use regular water and wipe that because it don't cut. It don't cut the sugar. It don't cut it. In fact, when it dries, it gets even more air. It gets worse, right? So boom. So now we got to learn how to come up out of this. We have to learn how to come up out of this. And my suggestion, of course, I'm running for mayor. I'm running. But I don't want this to completely be the crux of it. But again, like I said, I want to see how she come about of this, because how she comes about this is going to determine whether or not I fully but I don't. Never mind. My reason for being in here is because I don't trust her leadership anymore. But that was way before this came out. Okay, and now that this is out, wow, wow, wow. So there you have it, people. It's in your hands. This stuff is out here. If you read the description of this particular video, honey, to go to SPLC, is splcenter.org. You can go there. If you Google Sam Dixon's name, this article comes up. It comes up. Yes, it does. I just did it. If you Google Sam Dixon, Dickson, this article comes up. Data for October 19th, 2006. Okay? And there you have it. So on that note, I'm gonna leave you there, and we're gonna call that grace. All right. I'm here in New Orleans, representing College Park still. Yeah, I know I had another death with someone close to me. Um, she was like a sister to me. We've known each other since 1977. And the timing of this is just so that way to where I just had to get away for just a few hours so I could clear my head because I know I just lost my grandson 2 months ago. And I'm just there. I'm there. Okay. So then this come and it's like, wow. So honey, life shows up so that you show up. Though I'm grieving and carrying on, but this shows up and so the work still has to be done. So now, Mayor Broom, I'm inviting you. If you need to come here, you want to come on my platform, and if you want to sit down with me, we can go one on one if you wish. If you go live on a broadcast from the city and have no one else there, just you and the camera to talk about it without interruption and no questions or whatever, then fine. But this situation requires an explanation because now it ain't looking good. It's not looking good at all because the Klan, I don't care how we spell it, the Klan has never been good for America. And I know they think that they have, but they've only been good for themselves and never the whole. Okay? And to have your brother in law in partnership with this man to buy up land, and we got all this going on. We got the housing authority in peril. They talking about trying to move these folks that's already in subsidized housing, and we're fighting for affordable housing, and we're going to displace these people. And yet, your brother-in-law and this man, they done bought up land. They bought land, and it looks like they're just buying it to keep black folks from buying it. And let's just put it out there. You understand that? Hmm. And again, all what I'm saying may just be conjecture and fodder, but that's the